lectionary has us reading James chapter 3 verses 13 through chapter 4 verse 3. And James here is concerned primarily with wisdom. And he says that there are two different kinds of wisdom. There's the wisdom that comes from above. This is like godly wisdom. And there's earthly wisdom that I guess would come from below. James makes this dichotomy, and I think it's helpful in order to understand what God is like and what humans tend to be like. And James asks a question to get at this at the very end of this passage, and the question goes like this. Those conflicts and disputes among you, where do they come from? Do they not come from the cravings that are at war within you? You want something and do not have it, and so commit murder. And you covet something and cannot obtain it, so you engage in disputes and conflicts. Now, I think it's interesting because James is concerned about conflicts. You want something, and so in order to obtain it, you do something like commit murder in order to get it. Somebody else has something that you want, and you envy this person for it. And this is earthly wisdom. And the way that I want to get at this in this youth group class, school has just started. And at the beginning of every year, there are items that people must have in order to seem cool, in order to be part of the in crowd. What are those items? And this is what I want us to brainstorm up on a whiteboard. Items can include, new clothes, an iPad, an iPhone, a new haircut, having certain friends, these kinds of things. And this is all to get the approval of the people around us. This is what we want. But the problem with desiring the approval of others is that it creates this kind of social hierarchy where either you're in or you're out. There is us and there is them. We are the cool kids and you are not. This situation creates an aura of superiority and inferiority where people can easily fall into the trap of competing with one another for social hierarchy. And the question for James is this godly wisdom, wisdom from above, or is this earthly wisdom? Well, what I think is helpful is to read the passage verse by verse and have youth group participants do this in a circle. And as you read this passage, you will begin to see what the wisdom from above looks like and what earthly wisdom looks like. So what's helpful is to make a graph up on the whiteboard of wisdom from above, godly wisdom, and then earthly wisdom here. And what you will find is that godly wisdom is gentle, pure, peaceable, willing to yield, merciful, shows no partiality, and no hypocrisy. Wisdom from the earth, on the other hand, is full of bitter envy, selfish ambition, boastfulness. It's false, unspiritual, and devilish. It causes disorder and wickedness and covetousness. You desire what other people have, and maybe some of us aren't willing to commit murder for it, but how many of us are willing to stab someone in the back in order to climb the social hierarchy? What James is trying to get us to do is to see the difference between what God is like, godly wisdom, and what humans are so often like. We fall into the traps of bitter envy and jealousy all the time. But what James wants us to do is move towards godly wisdom, away from bitterness and envy and jealousy, and towards gentleness, towards mercy for our fellow human being. Now, we can't do this on our own. We need a community, which is what the church is supposed to be. But what I think is so important about this is that we always fall back into the worldly wisdom, wisdom from the earth. But what the wisdom from above, if we're going to hold ourselves accountable to it, always has is mercy and forgiveness, and always the invitation to come back into this way of life. So those are my thoughts on James chapter 3, and I'd love to hear what you think. Thanks.